Oh, yeah.
That's what I swear.
Right.
Pay him now, because they'll go up after tonight.
So this is the revised pay, right? Yes.
Yeah, are you ready? I think we got enough seats for everybody.
Yeah, it's getting dark at 5 o'clock.
That's what I turned mine.
Are you really crazy? You are crazy, cat lady. Are you crazy, cat lady? All right.
Yeah, she's crazy, cat lady.
Why is that not surprising?
Oh, I'm
Sorry, you're gonna do.
am I 20 seconds under the wire?
Yeah, you're good. That is 3. And good evening. It's 5 o'clock, December 12th, 2023. Welcome to the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Commissioner Moore,
I am here.
Commissioner Dell,
Here.
Commissioner Hung.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank
At
you.
5:15, what, you want me, go
No,
ahead?
go ahead.
Sure. 5:15, we'll have a presentation on MCM Wireless Communication Public Safety System with Jason Roblin. Resolutions number 1, investments.
Yeah, this is this evening's investments. I move to approve.
Second?
Discussion. Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Dell,
Aye.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Number 2, appropriations.
Okay, this is today's appropriations. There's a lot of year-end accounting maneuver that's going on here. If you take a look, you'll see pretty close to $20 million that are being appropriated this evening. Is there, Casey, would you like to talk about some of the bigger ticket items?
Yeah, sure. So we see this a lot of times with our during the year-end process. Again, there's some accounting corrective manual entries that are done downstairs with the auditor's office, specifically involving some of the notes, some of the borrowed notes. So that's what you'll see. Several of these, $4 million here, $1 million here. Those are standard end of year, again, appropriations. So those are counterbalanced by also revenue being recognized. So it's a net zero effect on the fund. But like I said, again, these are corrective manual entries done by the auditor's team to make sure accounting at the end of the year is in balance.
Okay, any questions?
Mr. President, Casey, would you like to address the $4 million for hospital health care benefits?
Sure. Line 22, hospitalization. We are appropriating additional $4 million to cover claims costs to get us through the remainder of December. We had $40 million budgeted for claims costs this year, and we will be over that by at least $3 million. So we've appropriated $4 million to get us through the end of the year, again, to cover those claims costs.
Again, that's not new general fund money, that's just a movement from the
Correct.
reserve to the checking account so we can pay bills.
Correct. We're pulling from the health, or from the hospitalization reserve, pulling those over to, in order that they can be spent on those claims. Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Move to approve.
Second?
Any further discussion? Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Dell,
Aye.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Number 3, transfers.
These are this evening's transfers. Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion. Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Dell.
Aye.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
There are no advances nor repayments. 5 requisitions.
I think it's the shortest list we've had all year. Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion. Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Commissioner Dell.
Aye.
Number 6, travel. Oh, I'm sorry, there are
No
no
travel.
travel. Bills, number 7.
Page 1 of 4. Please move to page 2. And page 3. And page 4. Move to approve pages 1 through 4.
Second?
Discussion. Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Dell.
Aye.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Number 8, commissioners may recess an executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official.
I'm looking at the personnel summary sheet, so I move to approve the personnel summary sheet.
Second. Do you
Discussion.
want to put it up? Or?
Can we put that up?
If you guys want, go ahead.
You did last night.
Oh,
Just saying.
God, you get one chance at president. Move to approve. Oh, we already did that.
Second.
You already
right?
did,
Okay.
yeah. Any further discussion? Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Commissioner Dell.
Aye.
Let's see, public comment on the agenda. Let's see who had that in there. Michael DeCarlo, you had on your agenda about healthcare costs. Did you want to talk about that?
Just for a second, sir.
Because that's item number,
Yeah.
E in general.
item number 10. Okay.
Evening, Commissioners. Michael DeCarlo, 320 Alberta Vermilion. Thanks for having the water up here. I'm not going to talk that long, though. Hey, I just wanted to say, when it comes to healthcare costs and stuff, especially addressing the emergency room, we were talking about the Cadillac stuff. I kind of got one of those insurance plans, right? Because I did 20 years active duty in the military, and you pay for it, but you get that kind of stuff. But the deal that the county guys got is actually better than mine. And I served 18 years. Out of my 20, 18 of them were undeclared, never-ending wars. And I've been to a couple battlefields and stuff. Just wanted to, it's just for your consideration and for everybody's consideration, really, is that when we're saying we need this, we get this, what is it you're actually relative to everyone else? That's all. No one's really special or better than anyone else. Just we're all looking for the same thing, equal playing field for everybody.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you. You're looking good.
Is that all you have?
How's it on agenda items? So,
Is there any old business?
I don't have any.
Board business. Number 9, amend resolution 23-814 on November 17, 2023, accepting the Chalco Consulting Group actuary report and establish Lorain County Healthcare Plan premium rates effective January 1st of 2024. Amendment was due to the increase per month calculations were incorrect in rounding on premiums in Plan C.
Okay.
You want to post the revised?
Yeah, if you want. Do you have it, Teresa?
Yes.
No, that's gonna be tough to see for everybody. There we go, thanks. Any discussion? Oh, motion to approve, sorry.
Second?
Oh,
Wow. Is there any further discussion?
it's gonna be one of those nights.
Commissioner Moore. Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Dell.
Aye.
Commissioner Hung.
No.
Number 10, authorize a 1-year extension to existing medical mutual contract and implement the changes to Lorain County Healthcare Plan effective January 1st of 2024.
Move to approve.
Second?
Discussion.
Any discussion?
The only discussion I have just for the public record, I see Mr. O'Brien is out there. I don't have
Wow, mister.
any problem with the extension on the medical mutual contract. However, because they're lumped into one resolution, I have to make a decision either way. That's all I had.
Do you wanna put the
You want to put that one up?
the updated resolution, it's 2 pages?
Ooh.
It's getting there, it's getting there. He's working it back there. Okay, that's page 1. It's a 2-page resolution.
Yeah, you could probably fit them both right next to, oh, I see.
No,
what
you can't
got.
because it's gotta go in the middle.
And she gets to show off her nails that way. The change that we did add on this is number 3, where the emergency room copay went from, instead of $300, came down to $200. Other than that, I think it's pretty much similar, correct? Staff, okay. From the original conversation, so. Okay.
Anything further? Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
No,
11, authorize payment to Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation for the installation amount of $240,172 to cover the policy period of January 1st of 2024 through January 1st of 2025, and this will be paid from the Workers' Compensation Claims Cost Account.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
yes,
12, revise the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. Revision is due to the additional levy that was passed on November 7th of 2023.
Okay, so moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Again, I'd like to thank the public for passing the 911 levy. It's going to be a huge benefit for this county.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Duff?
Aye.
Mr. Hung?
yes,
Community Development, 13, accept the program year 23 Community Development Program funds and enter into contract with the State of Ohio Department of Development for the amount of $570,000 for the various countywide projects. 1, water main replacement and roadway rehab improvements in Sheffield Lake on Alameda Avenue, Phase 2. National objective is low, moderate income area wide benefit is $220,500 of program year 23 CDBG Community Development Allocation Grant Funds. 2, low and moderate income area street improvements for North Ridgeville to replace Luann Drive, Carolyn Drive, and Monica Drive. National objectives, low and moderate income area-wide benefit, $150,000 on program year 23 CDBG Community Development Allocation Grant Funds. 3, public service activity Neighborhood Alliance to conduct a meals program, $85,500 of program year 23 CDBG Community Development Allocation Grant Fund. National objectives is limited clientele. These meals programs will serve the entire Lorain County except the cities of Lorain and Elyria. 4, fair housing program, $18,000 to implement the county's fair housing program year 23 CDBG Community Development Allocation Grant Funds. And 5, general administration is $96,000 to administer the CDBG projects in program year 23 CDBG Community Development Allocation Grant Funds.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
yes,
Under Job and Family Services, 14, amend Resolution Number 22640, adopted September 14th of 2022, authorizing a purchase service agreement between Lorain County Department of Job and Family Services and Neighborhood Alliance Lorain in the amount of $230,000 for protective services for adults using Title 20 Social Service Block Grant Funds for federal fiscal year 23. The amendment is to increase the contract by $157,782.55 for a new total contract of $387,782.55 to cover costs for the final months of the contract ending September 30th of 23, which will be paid from the Title 20 Social Service Block Grant account.
So moved.
second,
Discussion. Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Hung?
yes,
Mr. Riddell?
Aye.
Under Prosecutor Treasurer 15, accept and journalize the DRETAC, which is Delinquent Real Estate Tax Collection Appropriation and Expenditure Report as submitted by Lorain County Treasurer and Lorain County Prosecutor pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 321.261. Treasurer generated revenue for 23 in the amount of $588,235.12 with expenditures of $424,098.25. The tax unit of the prosecutor's office generated revenue for 23 in the amount of $588,235.09 with expenditures of $361,498.62 and anticipates another $38,753.65 by the end of the year. The 23 estimated tax collection of anticipated revenue will be approximately $950,000.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Dell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Under the Recorder, 16, authorize auditor to continue the special fund pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 317.09 and 317.321 for fees for the Lorain County Recorder for the purpose of supplementing equipment needs of the county recorder on an annual basis effective January 1st of 2024 through December 31st of 2024. The $17 request by the county recorder, $6 will be placed in the account 2540 Recorders Equipment Fund, and 11 will be retained in the county general fund.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Dell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Clerk's report. Do you have a clerk report?
I do not.
Okay, well, I'm skipping.
Okay.
Armbruster on purpose, so,
Okay.
You're right on schedule.
I know.
30 seconds.
I'm just trying to see where we're at here so we can, well, I just know,
Right on schedule.
I just kind of know what we're going to be expecting today, so. I'd like to move to waive the reading of the board correspondence.
Second?
Discussion. Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Dell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Do we have any new business?
I
Nope.
do not, do you guys?
I'm just skipping over as much as we can, so
Over here.
all we got to do is worry about public comment and Mr. Armbruster's report. So those are the last two items before we go into, I believe it's what, 5:15? Oh, wow, we're still a minute. Got a minute to go.
Well, it's not actual present. I mean, it's not a public
Oh,
hearing,
okay,
so you can speak
okay.
freely.
I'll let Mr. Armbruster introduce the speaker. Go ahead, sir.
We do have one comment Karen would like to mention with regards to Brew It Smooth Cafe coming, if you could.
What?
Absolutely. The Brew It Smooth Cafe is run by the Murray Ridge School students.
Huh?
And they actually have the ability to go mobile, and they bring it to different locations. So we've invited them to come to our board meeting on Friday morning. Actually, they'll be here in the administration building in meeting room A between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. So folks can come up and enjoy a peppermint mocha frappuccino, iced coffee flavors like brown sugar cinnamon, some special sweet treats, and all the proceeds go to support the students at Murray Ridge.
Okay.
And just wanted to give a shout out to Peggy because she helped me put the little flyer together and did a lot of nice work for me on that.
So we'll dispense with my report this evening as we have MCM Wireless Communication Group here. Michael McGrady, who's the principal, and Jason Roblin, who's the project manager. Over the last several months, we've been doing the process of bringing in information with regards to the wireless communication. And guys, if you could step forward and move on. Give us your thoughts.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Thanks for coming.
Jason Roblin, MCM Consulting, and I brought my laptop just so I can see any notes that I had prepared. So, MCM was hired to provide a new RFP process for the wireless communications system, and our presentation is the report on that RFP process, the RFP submissions that were received, the evaluation of those, and a recommendation. So if you, it's up, yep. Okay, so if you look at the title, there's some technical terms in there, and I wanted to define those for you. And let me say,
Can you hear it? Okay, we can't hear you.
Is there microphone?
Is that on?
Maybe
Hello?
point it a little close, like directly to your face.
is that better?
Yeah, you have to throw out your back
I
tonight.
can-
Sorry.
I will lean in.
Okay, that's better, yeah.
All right, I apologize. Can you hear me now? All right. Of course, now I can't see my slides, so.
Just arrange it how you need it arranged up there.
Well, you know what? It moves. It
Oh,
is-
there you go.
It is a gooseneck, my
Yes.
goodness.
There you go.
Sorry.
Good.
First day on the job.
It's
Right.
much better.
All right, so the title slide had a lot of definitions or a lot of things that need to be defined, and I just wanted to make sure we're clear on those. So 7/800 megahertz is the bandwidth for the system. That bandwidth penetrates buildings better than some other bandwidths that are currently used, and that's why we would recommend that for any kind of system that needs to be in an urban setting. P25 is a national standard for interoperability. If equipment is P25 compliant, it's backward compatible. So if you had a system with older technology that hasn't been upgraded yet, a P25 piece of equipment should be able to talk on those systems. Trunking is a way for channels to be shared or frequencies to be shared. It gives you more capacity out of the frequencies that you have available. I think that's the shortened version. And then a simulcast system, instead of just listening to transmissions from one tower site, you have multiple tower sites and they all transmit at the same time. And whatever gets to you first is what with the strongest signal is what your radio listens to. So it increases radio coverage significantly. Members of the project team are on the next two slides. The members from Lorain County are listed here. Mr. Armbruster, Karen Perkins, Lee Prue from the prosecutor's office, Jeff Young, Dan Gross, and Dave Freeman. And then from the MCM side, Mr. McGrady, myself, David Hewitt is our lead engineer, and he worked with they're listed as senior consultants, but Ron Godava, Mike Crago are also radio frequency engineers. Michael Wendt, who is also in attendance today, is an advising consultant, and Adam Leister, who is our GIS professional. So the next handful of slides are going to discuss the request for proposal process. Of course, the goals of any request for proposal is going to be to put out specifications and requirements that the client needs that are very clearly defined for all the prospective vendors to know what the requirements are. You want to foster competition to get them excited about putting in a proposal and getting multiple proposals back, and to leverage their expertise. So instead of writing very specific bid specs, you put the onus on the three major manufacturers who make these systems. They have teams of engineers and they know what they make better than anybody else. So you provide specifications, you provide requirements to say the coverage needs to be this good, and you let them design the system and you evaluate those proposals. Among those system requirements, we want to make sure, in a nutshell, it's a lot of words on there, but in a nutshell, you want the system to be reliable. That's where the 5 nines come in. You want it to have the coverage you need, both outdoor and indoor, and you need it to have capacity, and that'll be on the next slide. But so 5 nines reliable, that's 99.999% reliability. That is an industry standard that all three major manufacturers understand and build to. 95% coverage, 95% of the time. If you wanted a system that was 100% coverage, you wouldn't want to pay for it. You would need way too many tower sites. So there's an equilibrium between what's efficient and 95% coverage is your river valleys. You may have a spot where you can talk in a portable, but you can't be in a house in the river valley where they don't build them anyway. So, when they look at the mapping, those are the types of things that that come into play. The delivered audio quality is 3.4. We did define that, but that's what any system from any of the three major manufacturers is going to be tested against. It's a clear transmission. It can have a bit of brokenness, but you completely understand what the person is saying, and only rarely need to repeat themselves. The several projects that I've worked lately with digital transmissions, it's usually either completely there or it's not. You don't get a lot of the brokenness that you would have had in older legacy systems. The last bullet point I want to point out. So we required in the RFP that it not only be designed, but they're willing to test the systems based upon having a portable radio on the hip with a speaker microphone on the shoulder. That's typically what the people using these systems in the field operate with. They don't typically take the radio off their hip unless they, have a poor transmission. If they have a lapel mic, a speaker mic on their shoulder, they're going to tend to use those. So we want to make sure the system is designed to that operational usage, and that it also gets tested with that type of usage in mind. This is more dry information, I apologize, but these are also industry standards. So your decibel loss, when you see 8 dB loss on the top one, a 6 dB loss would be a stick-built home, it's vinyl siding. A 10 dB loss would be a brick home, typically. So 8 falls between the two. And 15 decibel is light commercial, so like a Walmart or a light industrial factory. 20 dB buildings are stout. This building might be 20 or 25. You have thicker walls, they're harder to get through. You have more reflective glass in the architecture, things of that nature. And then 25 dB is typically the highest you're going to see a system required to address. Any more than that, you're talking about some solutions specific to the building that would be needed. So those are the definitions that we put in the RFP. The team also identified 88 buildings specifically in the RFP that each of the manufacturers would need to provide coverage in. Several were on the site walks. We focused on the larger buildings, the more difficult ones to cover, such as some of the hospitals that were built in phases. You have a very, very thick-walled building, and then you add it onto it, and there's another thick-walled building next to the thick-walled building. Like when you're walking through the hospital, you may not notice it's 3 different buildings. But those are the types of buildings we wanted the manufacturers to see and walk through. All right. Continuing system requirements. The requirement was that it be a county-owned 7 and 800 megahertz P25 trunk simulcast system from those definitions that we defined. There's an implementation timeline of up to 24 months for them to design, build, test, and go live. Wanted to make sure that they were able to do that. The system capacity, which we talked about, we actually provided statistics from your county audio logger to the vendors so they can see how busy the system is now, add some future growth to it, and make sure that they have the capacity on your new system in order to make sure that, when people need to push the button and talk, that they have a channel available to do that. Interoperability, so you have a lot of different systems in the county. You also have a lot of different systems in your neighboring counties. So the RFP requirements required a lot of additional gateway devices so the dispatch center can talk on all of those systems if it needs to. And then the last bullet point starts to get into the comparison. So we wanted to have a 20-year timeline, the true cost of ownership, because there's a difference between value and cost. What is it really going to cost you over 20 years, and what value does each proposal bring to the table? So we required that over a 20-year period that they define their warranty, which is a year or two on most items, the maintenance costs over 20 years, how they're going to support the system. System refresh means when equipment needs replaced in the racks or in the dispatch center, that every 7 to 10 years, I think we did year 7, year 14. If you're going to do a system refresh, that's when they should be done. And then the monitoring. So all of the major manufacturers have a monitoring center, a NOC, a Network Operations Center, where they'll monitor your systems. So we wanted to make sure that that was also included so we could compare them equally. Oops, sorry. We could compare them equally when they submit their responses. Last couple on the RFP process, I promise. There was a pre-bid meeting and site walks, which I mentioned before. The pre-bid meeting, we reviewed the RFP in detail with all of the attendees. So they all, if they had questions on the RFP, they could ask them right then. We let them know that all valid RFP submissions would receive a presentation. So the vendor oral presentations are very important. It gives the manufacturers a chance to tout, their strengths, and for us to ask them questions. We ask those ahead of time so they can be prepared to answer those questions during their presentations. and that all RFP submissions would be scored regardless if they had exceptions or clarifications. We understand that maybe they understand something about their equipment better than anybody else, and they need a chance to tell us about that. There was a Q&A period, and I think we had maybe 4 different documents that we sent out. So once a week, we'd gather as a team, we'd answer all of the questions that they had, and every vendor received every question and every answer at the same time. They were anonymous, so somebody might send me something in writing that says, hey, I have a question about this. It would go on the list. I wouldn't say who asked it, but we'd provide the question, the answer out to everybody. At the end of the Q&A, we typically have a 4 or 6 week period where it's just quiet. They're not allowed to ask any more questions. They get a chance to write their proposals based upon the information that's been vetted. And about 10 days before the Q&A period ended, we didn't receive any more questions. They were all at a good place. So the submissions that we did get, we received one from E.F. Johnson for a county-owned system, and they were partnering with a local company, Vassy Communications. We received one from Motorola Solutions, partnering with the state of Ohio, the MARC system, and we received a no-bid letter from Cleveland Communications. The 2 proposals that we did get, we went into an evaluation period where the project team would meet on a regular basis. MCM would help evaluate and answer questions to the project team, help explain things. We looked at several areas. Cost is always important, but all of those other things that we talked about, the capacity, the coverage, the redundancy, things of that nature are also evaluated. So at a high level, we'll break into some more details, but at a high level, each of the systems had 10 sites. The E.F. Johnson system, all 10 sites were within the county. And the Motorola system, 6 sites are in the county and 4 on the edges of the county and surrounding counties. The number of talk paths, that's really when I talked about capacity, how many people can simultaneously talk on a system. The E.F. Johnson one has 8, and the Motorola one has 13. The Motorola one's going to need more because you're also going to have some state agencies on there. And the state of Ohio is funding 6 of those 13 with that in mind. The transmit power ties into the frequencies. The state of Ohio owns all of the frequencies that they need, so they can design a system based upon 100% fact. They know what they are, they can design it, and they know they can build that. The frequencies for E.F. Johnson are yet to be acquired. They're probably going to be exactly what they think, but there's always a shadow of doubt. And some of the concerns that we have on that are power output, locations, probably not an issue, but the Canadians always get a say if you're 70 miles from the border, and you are. So any frequency change, any new frequency has to, our FCC is going to send it over to Canada to see what they think. And sometimes they argue, so that's not uncommon. So diving into the E.F. Johnson proposal, like I said, the 10 tower sites, 2 of them are current county-owned towers, and they would be leasing 8 additional sites with unknown cost, which we estimated, but lease cost ongoing. It does use microwave connectivity, which is perfectly fine. Microwave and fiber optic can both be very, very redundant and very, very reliable. And again, the frequencies I discussed, they're not public safety frequencies, they're general pool, which probably is not a big thing, but you're competing with more people for them. So in the future, if you need more frequencies, you're not just competing with other public safety agencies nearby, you're competing with everybody else. So they might run out faster. And that's the last point as far as unknown expansion capability. The Motorola proposal also uses 10 towers. The current site being leased in Wellington by the county is a part of that proposal. They would take over those lease payments at the new systems go live. They're looking to construct 3 towers in their proposal. one in the Sheffield Metro Parks, Sheffield Lake Metro Parks, one on the Ohio Turnpike at South Amherst, and then the last one in Oberlin. I believe they're looking at the fire station. However, I asked them, would you be interested in leasing another tower site to save the cost of construction for the county? So the cost is in their proposal numbers. Driving here, I can see 3 towers where there's room on the towers around the JVS and toward Oberlin. So they said they were definitely willing to discuss that. So if that's a possibility, then it would save some project costs. 2 tower sites that they currently have. The Grafton Prison, I think, is the one that'll have the most upgrades. They're funding some of those, but those are the additional 2 tower sites. And then they're employing 4 nearby tower sites, 2 toward Cleveland specifically. When we get to the cost comparison slides, and if you need me to move faster, just give me the nod. It's a lot of information. The state of Ohio is funding the tower connectivity. That's a significant savings. At the dispatch center, the county would need to fund connectivity from the dispatch center to the core, but they'll pick up everything at the tower sites. Like I said, the frequencies are in hand. Transfer of site maintenance and replacement to the state of Ohio. So once the sites are built, their proposal has the county signing over the maintenance of those sites, and they'll take on that site maintenance. They will keep spare parts on hand, and if there's a insurance claim, it's on them. You're signing over the site; they'll take care of it from there. Their proposal had all the high-profile buildings guaranteed coverage with a BDA allowance, as did the E.F. Johnson proposal. So any additional funds that are needed are on the vendor, and any unused funds are credited back to the county. So a BDA is one of those solutions, building by building. So it stands for bidirectional amplification, bidirectional antenna, sorry. I'm not the engineer I thought I was. So there are 3 cost slides. The first one is the implementation cost, and that's going to be the cost over a project life cycle. So 24 months is the life cycle that is typical for these types of solutions. The radio system infrastructure is the radio equipment in the shelters, the base radios. The BDA allowance we spoke about, radio consoles in the dispatch center, 2 remote laptops for dispatch. The radio management that's listed there is a different way to program radios via Wi-Fi instead of over-the-air programming. There's a locution integration possible with the Motorola solution directly to the radio consoles. The civil work is basically your tower construction, grounding, fencing, shelters, propane tanks, generators, all the things that are not the radio equipment in the shelter. Your microwave connectivity, on the Motorola one, the state's picking up that cost, and then on the E.F. Johnson one, it's the microwave system itself. Subscriber radios, that explains the portable radios and the mobile radios in the cars. There were 100 mobile radios and 210 portable radios in the proposal. And then discounts, there are various ways they discount. Sometimes one manufacturer will discount a line for subscriber units, one will discount it for the tower equipment, and one will just say it's combined. So I just lumped them all together. The total of the discounts provided are there. So up front, the cost over 24 months, Motorola is a little bit more expensive than E.F. Johnson. Sorry, I'm going to catch up on my notes here. When you look at the ongoing cost comparison, so these numbers aren't exactly what you would pay for one solution or the other. They are the 20-year-long comparison. So one vendor might have had an option that the county said that we might want that, and I would have to ask the other vendor to give me a price on such a thing so we could compare apples to apples. So at the end of the 20-year cycle, Motorola is significantly cheaper. The life cycle system refresh is really the big one there. if the state of Ohio is taking on the maintenance of those tower sites, it's a tremendous savings. Connectivity and property costs, those include the tower lease. So on the E.F. Johnson side of that equation, I used $1,000 per month per tower site, which is a little less than the going rate right now. I put a 3% escalator on it to come to that number over 20 years. And on the Motorola side, I took the Marks user fees and the connectivity for the consoles. And on the Marks user fees, they're currently $5 a month per radio, but there's no guarantee that the discount that's there will continue. So I took the average of the discounted rate and the total rate, also with a 3% escalator. So it's closer to starting at maybe 17, 18 bucks a month instead of the $5. But I think we plan for the worst and hope for the best, right? So I want to give you a number that's maybe not all that you need, but it's fair. It's a fair comparison. In addition, on the Motorola side, the state of Ohio is investing into the project itself. They're providing all of the shelters that are needed, and that's $900,000 right there. The maintenance and the SUA, service level agreement, every 2 years. Everything gets touched every 2 years. If it needs replaced, it gets replaced. If it needs new software, it gets new software. I like to say it's new every 2, or it's like new every 2. That's the requirement that Ohio Marks has for their sites. That's also the requirement that this proposal has for your console equipment. Historical non-related services and life cycle costs. Mr. McGrady reminded me today what that one was. It's everything but the radios. So if the tower needs painted, it's in there. If the electric at the site, the propane in the tanks, all of the maintenance that's not necessarily the radio equipment. And then the backhaul is the fiber connectivity, which is geodiverse redundancy. They'll have 2 different pathways to the system core. I think that's important. And if a project moves forward that uses any kind of fiber connectivity, I'd encourage you to look at the routes that it actually takes. Like have the vendor actually sit you down with a map and say, this is the route it follows. It goes this road, that road, and make sure the other one doesn't have anything that duplicates. If it does, it's not really geodiverse. They also offered to reprogram any existing Motorola radios that are on the Mark system. Obviously, it would have a new fleet map. You'd have a whole new programming set, and they would reprogram those. The 6 channels at the 5 sites that I discussed that early on, that's the number associated with that. And then they'll keep some spare parts on hand. So that cost overweight is the reason that MCM is recommending the Motorola proposal. There are some other reasons as well in the next 7 slides or so. All right, not quite that many. We'll touch on some of those. So it's the best long-term value. You're looking at a 20-year span of time. They also have an awful lot of technicians, engineers at your disposal right here in Northern Ohio. And it's a model that's been proving itself for a while. So they do have over 150,000 users in 77 of the 88 counties. They currently maintain 371 towers, so another 4 or 5 or 6 is well within their capabilities. It has capacity for future growth because they have a lock on the licensing, the FCC licenses. And then a couple extra points. They do have some mobile tower sites if you have the need, if a tower goes down, if you have a special event where you need local capacity, they do have those available, along with a cache of radios. The increased range is something to consider when you're on a statewide system. You have channels available statewide. So if you're transporting a medical patient to a hospital or a prisoner to a place that's out of county, you're still able to talk to who you need to talk to. And then some interoperability notes. It would be directly interoperable with state and federal agencies or anybody else that's on Ohio Marks, including State Patrol, ODNR, State Prison, The subscriber units, the next couple of slides talk about some of the subscriber units. So we required the portable and the mobile radios to be both phase 1 and phase 2 compliant. Marks is phase 1. One radio frequency equals one talk path. There are other systems in the county and out of the county, both, that are phase 2. We want the user to be able to just switch to another radio channel. We don't want them having to call back to dispatch and say, hey, can you call Marks and ask if we can have a patch? That's not a good scenario for anybody. They should be able to just switch over. So it's a little bit of extra money in the programming of your subscriber units, but it gives you that interoperability with any current system and any future system, because you don't know what your neighbors are going to do. You could have a neighboring county that the sheriff's office needs to talk to, or local agencies respond back and forth across county lines as well. You need to be able to roll with those punches. The proposal does have 16 MCC 7500 radio dispatch consoles. It has 16 backup consolettes, which is a hardwired backup in case there's an issue with that particular console. There are also 2 laptop solutions for the county to use anywhere. The console interface to locution is interesting. That's the locution project. We've been working that for a little while now with the county, and in particular with Elyria Fire. And the console interface would negate the need for the push-to-talk boxes that are in the back room. So the current model or current diagram would continue to add those boxes back there and take up more and more space. The console interface would have the console talking to locution and to the radio that's programmed in the console. And then the audio logger, there's an upgrade planned for the audio logger, and Mr. Armbruster asked them to throw in something for free, and they did. So Motorola is working on an audio logger solution of their own. It is in testing right now, and I would recommend that at the next interval when you need an audio logger, you ask them to demo it and consider it. It would be a no-cost upgrade, but of course it would add to your maintenance. The portable radios are the N50 model. They have multi-key AES encryption for all of the law enforcement radios. Phase 2 for interoperability we discussed. We asked that they have Wi-Fi because not for coverage. It's not actually able to be used for that. It's for the radio management program. So when you need to reprogram your radios, instead of plugging one radio into one laptop cable at a time, you can reprogram the fleet much faster. They'll have a man-down feature, 3 years of maintenance, speaker microphone, and I put a link here for the state of Ohio authorized list, so agencies that currently have radios. The MARC system doesn't make you have Motorola radios. They have a big list of radios. As long as they're not end of life or been marked for decommissioning by the manufacturer that made them, they're probably on the list. So that list is, I don't know if I have a mouse on here. Dare I? Can I get back to this screen if I click it?
Should be. Yeah.
I know what you're gonna
I'm rolling the dice. We'll see what happens. Yeah, if anybody wants this on their own, you can just Google approved Ohio Marks radios. It'll take you to that first page with the link there. But can you see that okay? All right, so there's several E.F. Johnsons. The ones that are marked in kind of that yellowish, I'll call it yellow, those are nearing end of life from the manufacturer. So there are several from E.F. Johnson, several from Harris, Kenwood / E.F. Johnson when they merged, and then the Motorola ones, and some from, I've never heard of BK Realm, I apologize, and then Tate. So there's quite a few on there. Took me back. The mobile radios that are in the proposal are the APX 4500. Again, the AES multi-key encryption for law enforcement. Again, phase 2, again, the Wi-Fi. The only thing new here is the Bluetooth speaker microphone. So during the vendor presentation, Motorola made sure we understood that you can use your mobile radio when you're out of the car. It's fairly new. It has about a 300-foot range. I think that's what they list. So if an officer's on a traffic stop or somebody wants that additional range, they can use the power of the mobile radio outside of the car. Mobile radios are typically, 30-ish watts, 40 watts, and your portable might be 2. So there's an awful lot of extra power pushing out of that mobile radio. It's just extra insurance. There is a unication pager solution also available. We didn't get into any details as far as buying pagers because this is for the subscriber fleet is for the county, sheriff's office and EMA primarily, but they do support that as a solution, so that is possible in the future. They included a proposed payment calendar. These percentages are typically what MCM can get any of the 3 major manufacturers to agree to. They want a little bit up front. You want to hold a little bit at the end, right? It's the way it works. The rest in the middle is usually pretty negotiable. The completion dates that are listed were based upon information from their proposal assumptions that they made on the timing of things. So whenever a contract would be executed, that's when they would generate an invoice. So as far as when it gets paid, that's certainly still something to be negotiated. The proposed maintenance is with this proposal. So we used a 20-year length of time for comparing the two proposals. Motorola and Ohio Marks can offer 14 years of maintenance now. We had budgetary pricing for years 15 through 20 for the comparison, but they can't sign a contract beyond, I think it's October 9th of 2038. That's when the Ohio Marks contract ends. So you're going to get state contract pricing piggybacking off the state maintenance contract. You're actually getting a hair better than state pricing. They decided to sharpen their pencils a little bit, but for 14 years on your radio console maintenance, it comes in at $2.5 million. You'll notice years 6, 7, and 8 are a little bit higher than the others. The MCC 7500 radio console has been a workhorse for years. It's a good solution, but at some point they're going to offer something new, and so they've planned in the budgetary numbers already to migrate you to the new solution once they announce end of sale for the current model that's in the proposal. And then there's some other project budget items that you'd want to consider. There are 3 new tower sites, so you'd want to budget for some land acquisition. Maybe you'll get 100-year leases on all of them and for $1 a year, or who knows, but you want to at least plan for the worst again, so budget some money for land acquisition. The price of the Motorola contract would be spread over this 2 years with payment calendar. Consulting and project management, if you decide to hire a consultant or project manager, that's about the going rate. We would consider a contingency fund or a management reserve fund, whatever you want to call it, and whatever stipulations you want to put on how it would be authorized for use. That number is 5%, obviously completely up to you. You may not need or want quite as much. The radio management subscription would be due in that first year of active use, 2025. And then I listed the maintenance support and Marks user fees as known at this time for the first 2 years. So this slide speaks to the timing considerations. So Motorola will hold that pricing into next year. The prices aren't going to change. They're not going to pull any discounts or anything like that. But there are other potential clients looking to sign contracts with them, sign agreements with them. So you're going to get into the flow of their manufacturer whenever you sign compared to everybody else. And that's what it boils down to. So put this slide out there to share that if you do sign an agreement before the end of the year, the final system acceptance would be October 8th of 25. That falls close to that 24-month range. The dispatch consoles that would have that locution interface could be cut over before that in September of next year. If an agreement is signed in January, it pushes both of those about 6 months. That's what they're forecasting. That's all I have. I think that's enough. So, yeah, how'd I do on time?
Commissioners, any questions? No? You know, the key here is going to be how do you pay for it, okay? And what I was looking at with the recent millage pass 911, there should be enough revenue there to help offset some of the costs, and we could probably bond at least and I'd base everything on per thousand, or maybe per 100,000, or in this case per million. So a payment on a 20-year, since this is a 20-year project, and that's what you guys are saying the life is, the life expectancy of this, just for everyone, for the board's edification. Right now, 4.25% for a 20-year bond, that's a little high, but just play it safe, is about $75,000 a year in payments for $1 million. So just to let the board know, there's other ways, I believe, and these are the discussions we have to have if we decide to move forward, is how we're going to pay for this. Are we going to pay cash for it? Are we going to finance it? Are we going to do a little bit of both? Those questions, yet remain to be decided. The next question, I believe, after hearing this presentation, again, we were fortunate to hear it before you came up today and late last night. The key here is if we wait until January, everything gets pushed back 6 months. And if these numbers are shocking, if you go back to February of 2019, this is pretty much what the original price was going to be to do a countywide system. And it was like around $20 million. And County Administrator Jim Cordes, and I guess rightfully so, put it on the shelf because there was no money available and no way to do that. So with inflation the way it is, I'm sure that's closer to $32 million today. A lot of opportunities has happened in the last year or so. The state of Ohio now has 3 different capital improvement capital accounts. I believe Commissioner Riddell was working with down in Columbus. Our lobbyists are working on it, in which we can draw down that money to help offset the cost if we wish to go in this direction, which is to build our infrastructure for a countywide system. What I like is that you identified 88 buildings that don't need BDAs that will have access to all radios, correct? All of them, no matter which one you pick, correct?
Correct.
Right. And I like the concept that this is interoperable and we're not getting involved in picking radios. What we're doing is we're building an infrastructure. So those are just some of the words or some of my thoughts today. We're not going to be voting today. Today was more of an information so everybody can hear what we were privy to today and some last night. And we wanted to share that with the public. So anyone else have anything to add?
Do we have a process if someone wants to ask questions of MCM while they're here? Are any of the slips turned in for that?
I don't think so. Well, I thought you guys, I heard someone say that maybe you guys would be available to go and maybe have a meeting with the Police Chiefs Association, the Firefighters Association, or would you be available to have those discussions?
Yeah, absolutely, and we can stick around tonight too.
Okay.
That would be a good process.
Yeah, Mr. President, I do see Chief McCann and Chief Pronesti here in the audience. And you had your hand up, Chief McCann?
Yeah, I can, a minute or two.
Oh, yeah.
Questions for them or us?
Maybe both. So if he can kind of hang close to me. Yeah. Again, Chief McCann from Lorain PD. Just a couple things. When I looked at the PowerPoint and the slides on the TV screen, when you have a hot topic like this, which is a very hot topic, we all know that, it's critical how you pick your committee. When I try to go to a new patrol vehicle, I patrolled the streets of Lorain for a long time, but I've been out of patrol for a long time as well. So when you pick a committee to do a patrol vehicle, you pick the guys who are going to use the vehicle to be on that committee, at least some of the folks on that committee. For this committee, there was no one that's been in the police or fire service recently. No active firefighters, no active police officers who are on the streets with their lives in danger. So that's a very big flaw in this committee. And I'm not like here to challenge or critique it, and so to speak, but it's just kind of, it's not a good committee to convince the police and firefighters. It's not a way to get us on board, to convince us that we're doing the right thing here. The goal of the committee and you guys and everybody over here is to find a way to convince police and fire that this is the right place to be and to go with this system. And you do that by getting us on the committee and showing us how much this is the right way to go by teaching, by convincing, by showing, by telling that this is the way to move forward. And by doing it the way it was done, I believe you turned everybody off more than they were off before. So that's just my little input, because you guys know me, I'm pretty open and pretty blunt. I know you're surprised,
I know,
but
I'm shocked.
let's just move forward for a minute. To the point about the state patrol and ODNR, we're not allowed on our station, on channels anyway, so. By policy. Yeah, by policy, so that's all irrelevant. When you mentioned in here about, the pass, is it pass? The talk pass. Is that channels, or is that like groups that have like multiple channels? Like if Lorain PD has a path, how many channels is on that path?
So you can do an algorithm, so you would look at it, so we gave them all the statistics for the whole county.
Microphone. So everybody can hear.
Yep, absolutely. So what the vendors do is we send them all the call volume and all the log recorder volume, and then they run an algorithm determining, what is a grade of service so that you don't get a blocked call. So when you look at 13 talk paths, so you could have 50, 60, 70, 80 talk groups on those 13 talk paths, because you might have SWAT. How often is SWAT going to use those? You might have an entity that only works daylight and doesn't work 3 to 11. So what they do is they look at that and determine how many talk paths are needed for Lorain County so that you don't get like a busy signal. So it needs a grade of service. As the county grows, you can add additional talk paths to the system.
Okay, so like if Lorain has 3 frequencies we use all day long constantly, how's that going to affect the 13 talk paths?
So by a trunking system, what a trunking system does is it has those 13 talk paths. So you light up a talk path. As soon as you drop off, that talk path becomes
Opens up.
available. If you have a second transmitter, you probably won't go to the talk path you were on. You might go to number 12.
Okay.
And so that's what it does. That's what trunking does for the system.
Okay.
But again, as people come on, if you need more talk paths, the Ohio Marks has enough licenses available that we can add additional ones on.
Okay,
Because the worst thing you want to get is a bulk on your system.
right, I get it. I only have a couple more, so I'll be real fast, I promise. In the RFP, it says about removing legacy VHF, UHF. Is that for the entire county, or is that just for the sheriff department?
So that was optionally priced and would be.
You need to step up to the microphone, please.
Yeah, so removing legacy equipment was optionally priced and couldn't be executed until people aren't using it anymore. Your system of systems is very complex. And until an agency actually wants to move to the new system, you're going to need everything that's there.
Okay,
So it was not included in pricing. It was an option.
okay. I know there's a flow chart for removing the sheriff department legacy items, and it's brought out there on a graph. And I know, I can't speak for the sheriff, but if I was in his shoes, I know that I would not want to give up my only backup system in case the MARC system failed. So I'm sure he'll have words to say about that later on, but, I mean, I'm not going to give up my legacy system as a backup, because if something happens, it's technology. If something happens, you need a fallback position to change over to if something happens. So, but thank you for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming out tonight.
Thank you, Chief.
Is there anybody else that wanted to add some questions? Again, you're available to,
I'm here all night.
oh,
Mr.
okay.
President, there was every intent to, the administration had talked with MCM and to meet with the fire chiefs group and the police chiefs to have them make presentations directly to them and open it up. We had discussed this with both vendors. Both had agreed if, in the process, they would do that. So we should set up a time to do that, as we move forward. And well, in this case, it would be Motorola. It wouldn't be with E.F. Johnson. But the coverage that was asked for is that 95, 99 point, the five nines and the 95%. And we've given the county through Motorola, through the system, and E.F. Johnson, given that service. And that penetration, and actually with this process, the BDAs too. So it covers all those 88 buildings that we had out there that potentially have issues that are guaranteed with the radio as they go through to work for the safety of everyone, including the kids or anyone else, any firefighter or policeman that is inside those buildings, or any resident or anybody that is working.
Mr. President, a question for MCM, to the chief's point about, backup. We have a requirement here for redundancy, so there's already a backup to the main system. And if they wanted to keep their legacy, that would actually be a third system.
Yes. Typically, what we see is any new system that is stood up, especially in an area that has a system, a legacy system. I'll say legacy; it just means the currently used system that's been in place for so long. You won't see any buy-in from agencies out in the fire departments, police departments. It's very rare for them to jump on board until they can actually get their hands on a radio and test it. You're looking at 20 months down the road. We can certainly inform, we can plan, we can share details, we can share design, but we're all from Missouri at that point. You got to show me. Like, I have to have it in my hand. I need to make sure it works where I need it to work, and keeping those legacy systems up and running. Beyond that point in time is honestly their call. Once they get comfortable with it, they want to come on board to it, they may start moving to it.
But the main feature that we wanted out of the system was not only connect the whole county to each other when necessary, but also to have what they call redundancy. I would call it backup, but, so that if a part of the system fails, there's another piece ready to go.
Correct. And all of those different multiple failure points would be tested in staging. So at the factory, all three vendors do this. They will set up your system in their facility. You have one rack right here that's going to be at tower site A, another rack next to it, tower site B, and they'll work through all of the different things that might go wrong and how the redundancies take effect.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I had a question for Jason. I can't find it here in my notes. I know I wrote it down when you and I spoke earlier. You talked about how many radios that the sheriff said he had required. What was that number? Do you remember off the top of your head? I wrote it down.
210?
So there
Oh, no. Yeah, 210 plus 100 portables or
there are 100 mobiles
mobile? Yeah.
for in-vehicle and 210. 187 were for the sheriff and will have encryption.
And how many times did you meet with the sheriff to discuss his needs?
That information was brought from the other project team members.
No, I'm just asking you, how many times did you all from MCM meet
I
with the
have
sheriff
yet to meet the
discuss his
sheriff.
needs? Pardon?
I said I have yet to meet the sheriff, and I look forward to it.
Thank you.
I have a question. I have a question.
That's all I had, Jason, thanks.
So, do the BDAs function properly? Because it's.
Could you go to the microphone, please?
Okay. I'll try to save you some time. So do the BDAs function properly? Because it's my understanding that North Bridgeville had spent over $230,000 on their school system and it still doesn't work.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for the question. I don't have any knowledge of what the school put in. A requirement of the vendors is to test the BDAs with the actual project team and the school and the resource officer, if there is one, or local law enforcement.
That was with the 88 buildings that you identified, right?
Yeah.
That includes the schools.
Yes,
Well-
every school building. Yeah, we're wrapping up a project in Southern Ohio, and the one BDA was needed, and it was coordinated with the school and the sheriff's office, and they were all there to perform the testing and make sure it worked properly.
Thank you for answering this question.
Thank you, Jason.
Anyone else have questions? Okay. Thanks. You guys mind sticking around afterwards, and people will probably be more apt to talk to you one-on-one. Okay, well, we rushed everything else through. Now we're back to,
County Administrator.
oh, sorry. You already did your comments, right? You're good? Okay, they're good. Public comment? Aiden, you talked about radios on here. Do you want to come up again? Yeah. Okay.
Let me see what I got here.
Thing here.
You guys,
Ah, screw it.
you guys are twinning today.
What's that?
You and Jeff are kind of twinning today.
Oh, man.
Dave lost his ice
I
to
lost,
the floor.
yeah, I lost my ice.
So
One of
it
the
is,
rats.
I know. I'm
it is completely unfathomable
cancel.
that we are back here again today considering which radio system the county is going to purchase and utilize. Dave Moore, Jeff Riddell, and Jeff Armbruster have all known from the onset that a majority of the first responder agencies in Lorain County want the Harris system, and they've begun purchasing their own systems and radios. The three of you are trying to force Dave, Jeff, and Armbruster, not Michelle, are trying to force an $11 million Marks radio system onto the county that no one wants, and more importantly, no one will use. Why is the county going to waste $11 million or more on a system that is going to be left unused? Didn't Jeff Riddell promise the voters that if he was elected, he would end reckless spending? With the pending federal RICO case, the county has already spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on outside legal counsel, which, as I pointed out at a previous meeting, is contrary to law. Apparently, Dave Moore doesn't care because the money is going to his attorney friends that have donated thousands of dollars to his campaign. We all know that you're going to go with Marks, okay, for whatever unexplained reasons. I have my own theories. Can't prove them yet, but hopefully sometime soon we will. And if that's the case, then the county should allow the agencies that are using Harris to access 9/11 with no restrictions. One other question that I'm dying to know is who's going to gain the most from the Marks system over the Harris system? I just don't get it. I mean, you claimed it was an illegal contract. What was illegal about it? What was illegal about the Harris contract with CCI? Why did the county taxpayers pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for you to rescind a legal contract? And we paid $80,000 for this presentation that he just gave? That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. $80,000 more dollars.
Okay,
for this
thanks.
PowerPoint.
Thank you. Oh, wrong one. Debbie Kuhn?
I'm going to talk about
There you go.
I'm going to talk about the radio contract and our health insurance for the county employees. Mr. Moore, you know 2024 is coming right around the corner. I guess you really don't care about that, do you? I can promise you one thing, us union people will be voting. So will all the county employees that aren't union. This radio contract, it's a farce. Lobbyists, campaign donations, just a start. You're throwing away our county money. Us taxpayers. It's not your money. It's ours. And it's wrong, and it needs to stop. You're going to put people's lives on the line with the mark system. I'd like to know one thing. Who's in your ear about the mark system, because you two are no experts. You should have called the fire departments and everyone here in the county and invited them to the table. But you didn't. So you know what? You're going to pay for it more in 2024. No more.
Michael, you want to come back up, or are you good? Please, sir. Oh, okay.
Michael DeCarlo, 320 Alberta Vermilion. Good evening, Commissioners. Just a couple things I wanted to touch base with you on the 6119 stuff. I appreciate the work that the Commissioners, the direction you provided the administration, the work that the administration has done in order to get the poop away from the lake in Vermilion. Just because everything's downwind from there. You guys, all right. Also, and as far as that, I picked up on something from the attorney in the administration, the last meeting. It might have been the last meeting before, where it's, like memorandums of understanding and art was used, I believe. It's the contractual stuff. No matter how this radio stuff goes, as long as the city councils and the mayor sign off on the stuff, I really have no say in that. I'm good with that. But if we're just going to do everything by memorandums of understanding by unelected bureaucrats, I got a problem. Okay? The reason with that is that 700, 800 frequency stuff, I lived a different life, right? I did a lot of country studies in my lifetime. And a lot of these country studies that I've done use these frequencies to manipulate their people. And hence, that's that combination of commercialism and penal system that I mentioned last time I was up here. That's a concern. It should be a concern for every single one of us, right? As far as the radios and stuff, if Ohio's gonna get on the grand stage of building chips to make these types of radios, don't you think that we'd be a great customer for the state of Ohio, for these new companies that are coming here? I think that'd be a good thing instead of importing stuff from possible future enemies, maybe China, stuff like that from Asia. And there's something else that I really can't get together. I can't read my stuff. That's one of the bad things with chemo. Thank you. Have a pleasant evening. Good week. Maybe I'll see you Friday. Maybe not. I've been doing acupuncture, so I've been feeling pretty good.
Oh, really? Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And you look pretty good too. Hope your surgery and everything's going well, sir.
Yeah, it's healing.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. DeCarlo.
Thank you. Did Anthony go home? Okay. Okay. That's public comment. Well, that's it. We are adjourned. Thank you. What?
You didn't have any sheets back there for me to sign up to speak, but I marked I wanted to speak.
We ran out of sheets?
We ran out of sheets? We only had 4 people. Well, come on up. Nah, just come on up. You're good.
We know who you are, Jim, but just state your name for Teresa because she doesn't have a sheet.
There was a whole bunch, though.
Yeah. My name is Jim Sloan, live at 647 Washington Avenue, Elyria, Ohio. Just a couple things. If Chief McCann is still here, I just wanted to let him know that the reason they didn't have fire and police and the sheriffs here is because they think you're too stupid to know what you really need. Because they didn't invite the unions for the.
Let's be nice. That's not true.
That's
Not-
nice. That's not true.
That is nice.
No,
You didn't invite the unions for the health care. You thought we were too stupid to come to the table. We're not.
That's not true.
We
That's
are not.
true either.
We negotiate contracts all the time. And one of the things I want to see, you're always talking about how wonderful that healthcare system is. I got news for you. GM, Ford, and Chrysler in their contract just went from $50 to $25 for a copay. And now you guys went from $25 to $300, now back to $200.
Not for copay, just for emergency care.
Emergency room, that's a copay.
1.
Yeah, one. Yeah, that's one. So we negotiate this. So just to let you know, that is out there, because you said at one of the meetings that you didn't know of anybody that did that. The other thing I want to know, as it was brought up at the end of the year, because I just got through going through this. Have you guys completed your audit yet? Is it finished? Has the county's audit been certified yet?
Yep.
It has? Okay.
No, it hasn't, but that comes
2022, we
through.
haven't had our closing meeting
Yeah,
yet.
that comes through the auditor, that doesn't come through this board.
Right.
Okay.
But as far as I know, as of last week, it has not yet been completed.
It has not yet been completed. Okay.
As of last week.
As of last week. Okay. And the other thing I want to know is when you list all these wonderful things up here of what you're saving, how great this healthcare is for the county and for the employees of the county, and how much, how great it is. Why don't you tell them how much it's really going to cost them in the end? I want to see that side-by-side comparison. Do I need to file a public records request? Can I come up here and get a copy of how much it's saving?
It was up earlier.
I didn't. Dave. Hey, I can't see the daggone thing.
I got to do the
okay?
same thing here.
We're supposed to be getting new TVs. If I can't see it, I
some
gotta
big ones.
go home, run through this thing again, take pictures of it off YouTube. Okay? All I need is a sheet for
Yeah,
comparison.
she can give you a cheat
Okay.
today.
We can give you one before you leave.
Yep.
I got one now. That's all I need. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jim.
All right.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, so Dan, I guess a point of clarification on the 2022 audit. Usually, am I on? Yeah, I'm on. Usually, if I recall, we close sometime in August or so, because I remember the commissioners having to be on the closing call.
Yeah.
And usually we had two, so I don't recall that this summer.
I know Craig starts to go a little antsy about June, July. He usually likes to close early. I couldn't tell you right now what the date is, but it's later this year than it has been.
Well, I think we were supposed to close by September 30th, last I heard, and we're well past that.
I can tell you that it hasn't closed as of last week. I know it's still open. I don't think this is the first time that we've been open this late, as far as I know, since I've been here.
Okay.
But I haven't talked to Craig in detail about it.
Do you think, could you reach out to him and see what's going on?
Yeah, if he knows.
Okay, great.
Yeah, if he knows. Yep.
Thank you. Then we can get an answer from Mr. Sloan.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you. Hour and 25 minutes. Man, I thought I'd be here for 2 hours.
Teresa, I got cookies to make for the choir concert. Orange cookies, my dad's favorite recipe. Karina signed me up. Yep. Get home and do orange cookies.
So lucky you.
I'll bring you a couple tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow. You guys want to sign this tomorrow?
You guys have passed like emergency order?
I thought we did that already.
You're being paid by the insurance company. Sure.
What?
CCAO.
Wait.
So you guys have signed
We've
that?
already voted on it.
It's Friday. We're doing that Friday.
Oh, we're doing this Friday?
Yeah, because the auditor will not,
No, but wait.
we just got notification that the auditor will not release it because we haven't done that emergency, so it's on Friday. And it just came up late this afternoon, so it is on Friday's
Sounds
agenda.
like you're correct.
Okay, so you guys meet, sign on Friday, and then it's...
Well, we're just doing a resolution stating that it was emergency based upon the Ohio Revised Code.